And welcome back to the program. Thank you for staying with us. It's time for Opinion Court. As I mentioned, please use the hashtag Opinion Court if you're on social media. It helps us to track your conversation. If you want 22422, we would love to hear from you. Let me reintroduce my panel to you. To my immediate right, the Deputy Minority Review Whip, Jacoyo Midio. In the middle is Edward Kisiangani. He's our resident political analyst. And Sakaja Johnson, who is the National Chair of the National Alliance. Thank you all for coming. Sakaja, let me start with you. I know the party has referred Moses Kuria to its disciplinary committee. That still sounds a little vague. What exactly is the disciplinary committee expected to do?
Thank you. And first I will take this opportunity to congratulate my brother and friend Eugene Wamalwa for being sworn in as Cabinet Secretary today. I think very many people are happy with that, and is one of the people who will come in to help us implement the promise of this government, and I had to take that opportunity. The party has decided to take action because, you know, some of the statements that were made by the Member of Parliament, which are well known to all Kenyans right now, border on, you know, inciting Kenyans against either certain people of a different opinion, could be a political opinion or whatnot. It goes against what our party stands for. You know, our party is not just a vehicle. I don't think it is. And I also chair the Committee on National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities. I've gone around this country and I've seen what division has done to our people. You know, a lot of sadness, a lot of lives have been lost. Last week I was in Nginyang, in Loruk, in Baringo County, and the kind of ethnic animosity that is stoked by just simple statements by leaders, you know, cannot be understated. So in as much as it is not usual for a political party to actually make efforts to discipline a member for certain comments, we felt that on this one, the member went beyond the line, he crossed the line, and action has to be taken. Our party constitution provides for the mechanisms through which members who go against what the party stands for, because our party stands for the unity of this country. If you look at the Jubilee Manifesto, the first pillar is Umoja. If you look at the symbol of the party, TNA, it's a dove, which talks about, which symbolizes peace and the unity of this country. 10 years, 20 years from now, will we still have a country? Am I Kenyan? And I'm concerned because such statements are what serve to divide. They may look simple, but they actually go a long way to divide our people. So I've invoked the mechanisms within the party to actually take action, to go through the issues. The member is until proven guilty, really is really innocent until he's proven guilty. But I hope that justice will be done, because we cannot tolerate such statements coming from members of our party. And this serves also as a warning to any other member of TNA, whether it's a county assembly member, whether it is a member of parliament, whether it's a governor or a senator, that actually they must realize that the party is not just a vehicle. It stands for certain things, and if you go against that, action will be taken against you.
I hear you. You're saying he must be proven guilty. I think the clip is there, and through a legal process, certainly we would concur that a court, at the end of the day, is the final authority. But his audio clip is there. It has been replayed in the media, and he is what you call a quote-unquote repeat offender. So while you're here saying that TNA stands for one thing, then one wonders how the party has allowed this member to make this statement, well, perhaps not allowed, but by not getting rid of him, perhaps, or giving a strong signal that you're not going to tolerate it. The party has allowed him to stay on as a member of parliament. So these two issues appear to be contradictory, that on the one hand you're saying your symbol is a dove, but on the other, Moses Kuria, this is perhaps maybe second or third sentiment that is, you know, seriously aggrieving Kenyans, and he remains a member of Jubilee.
First of all, in the history of this country, there's no political party that has ever taken the kind of action that we've already taken or we're commencing to take. You must note that. Secondly, there's a certain threshold of deniability that certain comments that he might have made in the past could have, and the court processes have been able to prove that, because he has been released on it. It's an ongoing process. But on this one, I think it went beyond that threshold. There was a very clear statement that was made, and without, because I mean it's an ongoing process, so I don't want to speak so much about the details of what the committee will look at, because it's an independent committee within the party called the disciplinary committee. I think that because I invoked the articles of the Constitution that give me the power to actually summon the disciplinary committee on this issue, and I felt very strongly that this actually met the threshold for such action to be taken against him, and it's not going to just be a slap on the wrist. It's going to be serious action, and as much as there's going to be different institutions dealing with it, the political party is also an institution, as the institution that actually sponsored the member to be a member of parliament, that can take that action. Each and every member of TNA who vied for position signed what we call the I Believe Creed. The I Believe Creed actually binds them to certain levels of conduct, certain demeanor and disposition that they must portray in this country, because we need to change the tone and the manner and the character of leadership in this country. So it's something, I mean, granted, some people will think we're just trying to do trying to address the issue, but I am convinced that we must take certain action, and I hope that the committee actually takes action within the rule of law, because also we don't stand for mob justice in a party. Through the right procedures, the member will have a right of hearing. He will come there, fair administrative justice, give his side of the story, and fairly there will be some action taken. And I want this to be done within a week. So even as the committee starts meeting, most likely on Monday, when I will have convened them, I expect them to give us a position by the end of the week.
All right, Jakoya, what do you think of that?
Well, of what my friend Sakaja said?
Yes.
Well, I congratulate him for thinking that way, because certainly that, to me, is the direction this country needs to begin going. So good is good, has to be congratulated. But let me say this, for me and the National Assembly, I want to take this opportunity to actually apologize to Kenyans for bad conduct on one of our own. You know, more often than not, members of parliament get a lot of flack for behavior of one or two. In fact, I think we are looked at as one and the same everywhere. And I think to Kenyans, I personally, I think it's shameful, because this is a member of parliament from who is not a very young man. He's not a boy who witnessed a post-election violence. And I've looked at that taping and the video of it. And what I seem to be seeing is a member of parliament preparing his people for war, for some imaginary enemy. And there's a point in the tape where he says, ule mtu wa vitandawili. And when you say that, that's the famous cliche, how you refer to the deputy president called, referred to
Raila
Odinga.
Right.
Then he also said that militia is to protect him and the president. You know, I looked at that thing and I saw an announcement of war, and that cannot be allowed. That cannot be allowed after 2008. In fact, I want Sakaja to encourage His Excellency the President to make a statement. It is important, because in 2 days I've received 3 phone calls. One from Busia, actually 4. One from Kisumu, Busia, Kitale, and Eldoret. And those things are the phone calls which mirror the ones we were getting during post-election violence.
What were they saying?
Number one, they're saying if the people would ask you, do we chase Kikuyus away? And to me, it's a shame, after going through the whole 9 yards of the constitutional making process. I am in the know that Kuria may not know. In fact, he's a new member of parliament, and I used to forgive him, because his thing is a pattern which is very established. But I am in the know that in many parts of Kenya, many people who moved, who are disorganized during post-election, are just beginning their journey back to where they used to live. Now, when you are saying you don't, you are inciting them to cut with pangas, and you're telling them a panga is not just for cutting grass. You know, and just to end so I can give somebody else a chance, not too long ago, a university student was jailed for saying, and it's good to say these things so Kenyans can understand, that their peace will only come to Kenya, or insecurity will only end if the Kikuyus are pushed back to the islands where they came from. And I thought that was very offensive. I personally thought it was very offensive.
Certainly it is.
And if you think that is offensive, it then means Moses Kuria belongs in jail. It then means, and I know Sakaja is starting a good process. Right. I can also tell him, I know the forces of evil will not let him go very far with his committee. The law, we even went further in our constitution and gave the judiciary the independence as everywhere else. They even decide their own budget. Right. So the judiciary must act. The DPP must act. And this penchant to let MPs and political leaders off the hook every time they do something that divides Kenyans
must stop.
It's like the way we fight corruption.
Just quickly, because you referred to the phone calls that you're receiving, and for the purposes of clarity, when they're telling you that they should they chase a certain community from their areas, what are you telling them?
Telling them no. Telling them it as absurd as Moses Kuria's utterances may be or sound, Kenyans must live together. And you remind them about their constitutional obligations.
Right.
That the Constitution says any Kenyan can live anywhere they want in any part of this country.
Right. Sakaja,
let me just say this very quickly, and also for the record. One, the party TNA totally dissociates itself from those statements. The member does not reflect, one, the political party, and number two, the President of the Republic of Kenya, despite the fact that he represents the constituency that the President represented. The President himself is not pleased with those comments. And what I must say...
Do you think the President should categorically say that? Do you see the import of what Jacoy is saying, especially because this man, as you have rightly mentioned, is representing his home base?
You know, the President ceases to have a home base when he becomes President. But even the President, because he is a member, the President is a member of TNA, and I'm his chairman. I think, it would be good also if he dissociates himself from that. But the party has spoken, because I am the national chairman of the party. If you go through our constitution, actually in TNA we don't have the position of a party leader. The national chairman is the leader of the party. And what I've said is the position of the party. And number two, contrary to what the past of this country has been, we will not sacrifice the unity of this country for political expediency. We will not sacrifice the future, the unity, the cohesion that we've worked hard to attain since the post-election violence at the altar of political expediency. And I just like to tell Kenyans to actually watch my moves on this one.
And we certainly will. Prof, let me bring you into the conversation. And I must make it clear that we did invite the member of Gatundu South, Moses Kuria, to the program. He declined to come. Nonetheless, the show goes on. Should he resign from his position as that member of parliament?
I think it is up to him.
What is your opinion?
What I know is that he's an intelligent person and he has some good education, so he knows what the Constitution says. He has to, with the utterances I've seen, I think they are a violation of Article 10, where we should preach unity, and Article 73 of the Constitution, which says that a state officer should hold office in a way that reflects honor and dignity. Yes. So the laws are very clear about that. And
but your opinion isn't. Do you think that he has demeaned that office to the extent that he should step aside from it?
Correct. He must, because that is the position. It's not a personal matter. But what I wanted to say, Anne, is that we are talking about Moses Kuria today. And we have two members of parliament from the two major political movements here. He is it the first one, for example, to use Bitendawili? He comes from a political wing that has encouraged talk that border on personal hatred. Really, when he talks about Bitendawili, he's borrowing from his seniors. You know, you can start making innuendos about people, and your children also start picking those innuendos and turn them into hatred. During the time of Nazi Germany, there were certain innuendos that were made against the Jews. And those innuendos reached the peak when Hitler released the final solution. So really, the time for talking about Moses Kuria must also afford us an opportunity, Anne, to do some stock taking about the political party morality in this country, both sides, and ask whether even the top leadership in this country is giving the correct direction on both sides or not. And then say, do we have strong mechanisms even for political parties to discipline some of these fellows? We have had so many other members of parliament who have spoken in a manner that promotes ethnic hatred or even personal hatred. These things must come to an end, and they must not stop at an individual like Moses Kuria.
Let me put context to what you're saying, Prof, and I want to continue with you, because part of what Moses did say, and I don't want to use the word as a defense, but he did bring out the fact that it appeared to him that NCIC was not impartial in how it dealt with other political leaders who had previously also made statements that could be deemed inflammatory. Specifically, he mentioned Johnson Dama of the Wiper Democratic Movement, and I believe he also mentioned Kalonzo Musyoka, who's a CORD co-principal, and basically said they're not being measured by the same stick. Do you think NCIC has not dealt equally with those who have such sentiments on both sides?
I think he is perfectly right in that observation. NCIC has always developed a cold feet. We have, and that is the point I'm making, that in the past some people have made very bad statements which border on warfare, and nobody has taken action. So I think to look at this as an isolated case is not right. Moses Kuria's statements represent the political culture in this country. A lot of people believe in this, and they can, even if given a chance, they will talk like that. So therefore, the morality that we are looking for is across the board. Moses Kuria must wake us up to say we have developed, perfected the morality, the political hatred to a fine art, and we must change that as a group. Even if you put him in, how many of them are still believing in what he's saying? I'm sure if Sagaja had not acted the way he had done, he has done today, probably tomorrow or the following day, and some people will come in and start defending Moses Kuria. And they probably will do that on an ethnic ground. But probably they will change their mind because of that, what you have done. So really, we have a bigger problem than just Moses Kuria.
I'm sure some people will definitely come and do that.
Yes.
That is natural. You have said this has happened many times before, but two wrongs have never made a right. And if this thing must stop, and for it to stop, it will start with TNA, let it start with TNA. And I hope other political parties will also take cue. But when you look at the NCIC also has certain structural inadequacies, especially within the legislative framework. You must realize that the NCIC Act was passed before the Constitution, and it has very little teeth to bite. They only can take action when such comments that are made are bordering on ethnic hatred. You know, so if somebody says something, no matter how inflammatory, but does not deal with inciting one community against the other, the NCIC hands are tied. But today we had a meeting in the Committee of National Cohesion, and in as much as we were discussing a different topic, and we were discussing the issues of cattle rustling in the north, we actually told the chairman of NCIC, Kaparo, and his commissioners, he came with all his commissioners, that the more he keeps himself inside the box of black and white, of what he can do and what he cannot do, despite what Kenyans think he should be able to do, the more we slide into anarchy in this country. He must take action, and he has also proposed certain amendments that will bring into the floor of the House to make sure that the NCSC has power to act. But we have institutions in this country. If the DPP cannot see what is going on, if the police cannot see what is going on, if the Attorney General cannot see what is going on, then why are we talking about cohesion in this country?
In fact, I wanted to begin from where Sakaja has just stopped. You know, we have to relook at our law enforcement structures. These things of NCIC, anti-corruption, why are we being so experimental with things that can't work? There's the police, there's the DPP, to courts, like what Moses has done, and not only we are using Moses because it is the happening of the day.
Right.
But you see this everywhere. I used to have a councillor across from me from a neighboring constituency who used to say he wants to take all the Luos, and he was saying it, he meant it, that Luos that live in his ward, he cannot talk, or they will face public circumcision. You know such things. When you say them and you mean them, they have no place in modern day world, let alone Kenya. But I wanted to say this. Moses Kuria, he has been following a pattern. This is not the first time. Moses Kuria is even in court for similar utterances. He means these things to his heart, and I think the best place to apologize, I mean, the buck must stop somewhere. The people trying to take Kenya remind us of our dark past. We must deal with them. And I wanted to say this.
Right.
Rwanda. How did Rwanda happen? How did Rwanda happen? It was utterances of leaders. When people do this, like that crowd Moses addressed, Moses may say he's sorry, but the venom he spewed and he left in the hearts of those people. I have watched other tapes, Chairman, in a function in Murang, in a function where people are drinking and merrymaking. But when politicians were talking, they were only talking about a certain community in this country. And what would be the work of the police before you even mention NCIC? In a function where a governor is sitting with all this thing and people are teaching tribal hatred.
And what police officers are present.
And even the governor, even the MPs are guarded by police officers.
Right.
So this country must change. We must change.
Let me just move the conversation forward to ODM's response specifically to this, and in a statement that she sent, and if I could just get a direct quote for you, this is what ODM said: the remarks of Kuria asking youths in his constituency to prepare to kill all those opposing NYS projects lends credence to our concern that the government has embarked on creating a militia out of NYS as an insulation against defeat in 2017. That is a statement from NYS. It may not, I mean, I beg your pardon, from ODM. It may not be quote unquote, ethnic, inflammatory, target type of statement, but nonetheless, it does create a great deal of anxiety and apprehension, especially when you say that the NYS is a government militia. How does ODM stand above board by releasing such a statement? What evidence do you have to show Kenyans that for such and such reasons NYS is a government militia targeted at 2017? Because what Kenyans know of NYS so far is that they've been cleaning up Kibera and putting up toilets.
Well, it's not only Kibera.
And other areas. Granted. But your evidence, sir, your evidence that NYS is a government militia.
No, I don't even think that is the...
That is a statement and a direct quote.
I do not think, but I am hearing the statement for the first time. I do not think that is what... But I'm a pretty...
It is a quote verbatim, sir.
Yeah, but what that statement says, it says that action, it was... The statement was made in front of the management and the leadership of NYS and members of NYS. Remember, NYS is recruiting Kenyans to do the work which you have just mentioned. The allegation there is that if those are the people being told to arm themselves, what do you plan to do with them? Remember, I was there, so I don't want to talk like a stranger. I was there and I saw these scenes. That talk reminds me very much of that scene in Naivasha, reminds me of a lot of scenes in Kibera, during the post-election violence. That's why I'm talking about it.
And
So
I agree with you,
wrong.
sir. But I'm asking specifically about ODM's response, claiming that NYS is a government militia whose sole purpose is to ensure that the current government remains in power in 2017. Are those responsible statements from ODM? I'm more than happy to do that, sir. And this is a quote. It says, quote, "The remarks of Kuria asking youths in his constituency to prepare to kill all those opposing the NYS project lends credence to our concern that the government has embarked on creating a militia out of NYS as an insulation against defeat in 2017."
Lends credence to our concern that the government is creating a militia. Remember, there has been a concern. Remember, not a few months ago, somebody tried or suggested to arm NYS, to have them trained in with guns, and they are not regular policemen. Even constitutionally, they are not part of our security organs. That particular attempt must make all and sundry jittery.
Whose attempt was that?
And whoever it was, I know it was in the air, and I know that's what the concern of ODM. If anybody...
You're saying there wasn't such an attempt?
No,
there's never been such an attempt.
The talk has always been there. In fact, the police themselves, they will not talk loudly, but they will tell you that
you're saying a rumor. This now sounds like a rumor. Did somebody move to Parliament?
It was not a government
nobody
policy.
would.
It was not an
Nobody
intended
would,
amendment.
because nobody would let them. But Parliament would have, first of all, change the constitution to create another
force.
Another force. You
Let
know.
me say this.
So that imagination, well, be it by NYS or is
what I think for sobriety of this debate, really the reaction of ODM was also reckless, because it also raised that is also raising the political temperatures, in the sense that now you start saying that probably our prediction has become true. But quickly, I think for me, I'm satisfied by the fact that Sakaja has already dismissed that, and the party position has been made. So really there is no issue of NYS and the militia. But I think the position that Midio's party started off from was the fact that in Moses Kuria's utterances he began with you say that Jubilee NYS is the militia of Jubilee, and then I am telling you that now you are my militia. That is probably the reason why the ODM began like that. But it has very, very, very highly educated people, and you must control your tongue also, and make sure that you don't counter issue statements that can inflame the situation.
Let me say this. First of all, and which is why at the very outset I was quick to dissociate the statements by Honorable Moses Kuria from one TNA and from two government, because at a certain level I can also speak for what government stands for. As a custodian of the manifesto, that is a party's manifesto of Jubilee. It has nothing to do with the manifesto. NYS is a totally different program. It has been very transformative. Kenyans know what NYS has been doing. Kenyans have seen it. It's transformative. A lot of these young people are now earning something. The youth groups, for example, in Kibera have saved 150 million that they're able to use in circles. In Mathare, it's 50 million. And everybody accepts. And NYS is recruiting from all over the whole country. What I'm pleading, because I know Jacobo Midio, he is a friend and I know him personally, that deep down, he has the best interest of this country. And many politicians. The trap we fall into is a similar trap that the party, whoever released that statement on behalf of ODM, falls into. That at moments like this, we are tempted to slide into political wins. That, oh, since Moses said that, let us hit Jubilee on that. Or now let us hit CORD on that. But if we have a few statesmen in this country, just a few statesmen, who can say that at this point, we can all rally together and think about what are the foundations of this country, think about that unity and talk together, then we will give this country a favor. But the problem is that every time such an opportunity comes, if it came in ODM, I'm sure I'd be saying now this one, I can now hit ODM on this thing. This is not one of those opportunities, and I'm praying, because I have seen the pain that Kenyans are going through all this violence. I've gone to corners of this country that have actually been forgotten for a long time in this country. Mothers are crying, fathers are crying, they're losing their children. If we cannot at this point rally together and talk about what are the foundations of the unity of this country, so that all of us can uniformly condemn. I know whatever I'm saying might not be popular even within my party, but I have the mandate, and for the time that I'm the chairman of this party, I will stand for what the party itself stands for, and what I know very deeply, what I know the president of this country stands for.
I want to ask
the unity of this country. Let us not use this for political
I want to, Prof, I'm giving us all now a final opportunity to speak, because we're completely out of time, and I will not ask a question, but I will just urge that each one of you address yourselves to this situation, to the, again, simmering intolerance that is worrying to witness so close to an electioneering period. The Kenyan public is listening. Jakoyo, your final thoughts.
Well, what I would like to hear, particularly from our opposites, the Jubilee side, because they have the government, I would like to hear them calling about lawfulness. Lawfulness. You know, I said 2 days ago that MPs, whether the president decrees that people go and deal with issue of alcoholism, which is a menace, MPs cannot break business. MPs cannot tell people to carry pangas. MPs must protect the constitution. And the courts, what I would like to hear from my friend Sakaja, this is a crime. This is a crime whose evidence is glaring. We cannot say go and investigate. What is there to investigate? If somebody is caught, the word death, kill, cut, it's criminal. We should take all these people, even if it is Jakoyo, to court. Let us then put pressure on the courts to work for us.
Thank you.
Two things, Anne. What has happened from the point of view of Moses Kuria, and from my own point of view, I think it's a godsend opportunity. It is something very positive. Let's look at what Moses Kuria has done in a positive domain, because some of us have been pretending that we are cohesive enough. I think in the past shows we have also said that I think we are not working so hard for national unity and cohesion, and in another election we could be in trouble. So what has happened, take it positively and let us act positively to save the situation and make sure it doesn't recur. The second and last thing that I want to say is this. The president of Kenya, the President Uhuru Kenyatta, is our president. And we do not want to hear anybody from an ethnic community reducing our president to a product of a certain region or a certain community. So don't do anything that touches on the president. I don't mention the name of the president, even if you are making statements, because he represents the general will of the Republic, and we would like that to remain like that, so that people in Nyanza can also say our president, we are protecting our president. People at the coast can say that. But when you do it from that perspective and even do bad things or maybe issue wrong statements, and it is not good for the Republic.
He is our president.
He's not your president. He's our president.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me finish with two things, and I want to assure Kenyans, because, and this is from the depth, the bottom of my heart, and I know it for sure, because I believe I'm still sane, and I know for sure. So I hope for others I will not be here.
I know we'd have made a mistake.
I want to tell you, the president of this country, President His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, is the one person I know who more than myself wants to unite this country. And anybody, especially not from his own political party, especially from his political party, who wants to go against that, we will not allow it. That I must say. He wants to unite it, and he's done a lot of things to try and to bring this country together. I think you all know that. Number two, we believe in the rule of law, and the rule of law must take its course. The problem with some of the structures we've set in this new constitution is that no matter how much the president wants somebody to go to court, or no matter how much I want to do it, we have an independent office of the Director of Public Prosecution.
It is not. We
have seen how he has been dealing with corruption. Many people are not happy. We want him to actually use this situation and many other situations that have happened in the country to vindicate the credibility and integrity of his office,
that office
and to take action.
Right.
But we will not allow this country to slide down the path that we saw it going back to, where the fabric of this country was torn from top to bottom because of careless remarks in this country.
I thank you, gentlemen, for your views. We're taking a break. We're back with the business after this.